Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the American Soccer Club Zone. This is our weekly radio podcast, the American Soccer Club radio show and podcast. We talk about everything local Long Island soccer, New York Metro soccer, national, international, and today we have a great guest. But first, this show is brought to you by our incredible sponsors and partners of the American Soccer Club New York. Starting with LifeVac, our Jersey front partners. LifeVac have saved over 4,000 lives to date. The CEO and founder, Artie Lee, and his life hackers around the country are on a mission to save lives, and they're doing it. The American Soccer Club are partners in that noble endeavor. Orland & Cohen Orthopedic Group, keeping us healthy, a division of Northwell Health, the largest health provider in the New York metropolitan area. Our Jersey back partners, the incredible Orland & Cohen Orthopedic Group division, has state-of-the-art facilities that help athletes get back on the field, and they've done an amazing job with us this year in our inaugural season in the MPSL. Our uniform and apparel partners are ASC New York Wear, only Bologna, Italy-based Macron. The motto is be your own hero. We love that. Macron U.S. headquarters also is in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and that is an incredible convenience for us. So we have our uniform partner right across the Long Island Sound. And, of course, A-Turf, America's top synthetic turf manufacturer. A-Turf fields, they last an industry-leading 14.5 years from the Buffalo Bills Stadium to the Sousa FC Orland & Cohen Complex, where we held our initial tryouts here on Long Island. A-Turf provides a playing surface most like natural grass in pristine condition. And BQE Soccer Partners, the architects of the American Soccer Club, it's been in the works. We'll talk a little bit about BQE today and how our guest was involved in the early conversations with BQE. And finally, Todd Porfirio and Associates, the top PR agency in the country as far as I'm concerned. They are unbelievable. Thank you to my producer, Stephen Coffey, and the studio of KJoy at 98.3 here in beautiful Farmingdale, Long Island. To learn more about the ASC New York, the American Soccer Club New York, go to ascnewyork.com. Big games coming up, playoffs on the line, and a lot to talk about. But the greatest thing we have today is fellow Long Islander. We had to dial him up because, like a lot of people in New York, they've left. We're trying to get Jim back. So today we have Jim Rooney. Jim Rooney we'll talk a little bit about his background, but Jim Rooney is also one of the most influential individuals on the ASC New York Sporting Committee that advises us both on the big and small picture of the building of the American Soccer Club. He is also joined by local legend and actually national U.S. legend Bob Montgomery, Farouk Qureshi, and Perry Vanderbeck, and Mark Lugris. Mark Lugris has been on this show already. So, Jim Rooney, welcome to the show.
How you doing, brother? How's it been?
It's been good. It's good. See, I love that you haven't lost the Long Island accent after all these years out of town, down in Florida, now in South Carolina. You still keep it. I think it's a point of pride for you, isn't it?
Absolutely. Listen, absolutely. But half the people I hang out are still up from, or I talk on the phone. It's the same thing with the guys from Long Island. I'll keep in touch with everybody up north and yourself, as you know.
Yep.
All those up. But, I got my buddy. I was just speaking to Danny Muller yesterday, as you know, our good friend. So, yeah, I go up there now, too. My family's still there, as you know. So
exactly right. And, Jim, I wanted you to tell everybody a little bit about your background. I'll give a couple of highlights, and then you have an interesting journey being a first-generation, American, let alone Long Islander, and a great Irish family. Great to have your parents still around. Last time I saw your dad, he hadn't missed a beat. 28-degree weather at Sousa Orland & Cohen Complex in the winter, and he was the same guy that I knew 30 years ago. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
So, Jimmy, your background's amazing. I know you started at the Deer Park Celtic Soccer Club, one of the best clubs and top clubs to put out an enormous amount of talent back in the 70s, 80s, and through the 90s. And I think still probably is today, but not the way it was in those early days. I know you went on to play at Fordham University and CW Post. Ultimately, as we had incredible success, and even was a kicker on the football team, which is a pretty cool thing. I never had the guts to do it, Jim, so you have to tell us about how you got into that. But the one point I made today in preparation for having you on this show now, which airs every Sunday morning on KJoy here at 98.3 at 7 a.m., is I think I'm the first person that signed your first professional contract, and I think I might have signed your last professional contract when you started with the Long Island Rough Riders, a new expansion franchise in the old USISL, now USL, and then when you retired in 2006, and you came back here and finished that. Is that right?
That's 100% right, Jimmy. The negotiations, remember how fierce they were?
Oh yeah, they were. They're pretty tough. They were pretty tough. The second one was tougher than the first one, to be honest with you. So
yeah, but it's one of those things, and it's amazing thinking back. Me and Danny were talking about it yesterday, just laughing about the contract negotiations. You know, I was offered $800. I wanted $1,000. and the funny thing back then, part of the conversation was, I don't know if you remember, I was playing in the Greek leagues. So at the time, I wasn't allowed to tell anybody how much I was making at a game and stuff. So I was making $500 a game. And here I am. You're asking me to take $1,000 pay cut. And we did.
We did. You know what? Some guys didn't, Jim. Some guys didn't. Yeah. And I remember I still see Tommy Lips. Tommy Lips was holding out for $1,000 a month. And as I said, we had one player over that, and everyone else that was at the top tier like you, we had $800. We had a budget. Tommy Lips and Ronan Weissman, two great guys. Ronan was on the show last week. They held out, and they went to New Jersey, Imperials, and
that's right,
and the New York Fever, and I still hold it over their head. I goes, you guys went there, and you got a couple extra $100, and you didn't win anything. And you remember we had guys, obviously. Myself, Travis Rinker, we played Oceanside together. Adrian Gaetan. The Navajos? Is that together. The Navajos?
Yeah, the Navajos were national champions, runners-up, and, we played against Balboa's team in California, and Culver City, all that kind of stuff.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that was the team with Oceanside. We had Travis. So, guys, me and Travis, I was looking, and I'm looking at pictures. So Travis and me have played together since my father was the Long Island select team coach for the 1968 players. So Travis was on that team. He grew up in Cold Spring Harbor. But then we played on the summer team, Tony Noto's team in the summer, Santa Rosalia tournament.
Oh, I remember that.
We played on those teams together. I mean, and so it was sort of like every one of us, even Tony Miola, when he came to us, we were like, listen, if we could all play on the same together, let's try and do it. And it was just, as you know, Jimmy, it was, early days, it was difficult. There was a lot of sacrifice, but we were all together.
Great friends, it's amazing.
Great teammates.
Yeah, and so You're born in what year, Jim?
1968.
68. I'm 61. So
right.
we're old guys, but I'm a very old guy.
Yeah, you were always the old guy. Don't ever forget that. Remember we told you. That's why you were general manager.
That's right, because I couldn't keep up anymore. Trust me, I couldn't. But, it's amazing, though. When I started the Rough Riders in 1993, I accepted a contract to be the general manager. In June of 1993. And I was playing in with Glen Cove, which had a great team. Danny was on the Forest Park, but he played with us a little bit, too. But it was the Northeast Super League was what we had. He had the Greek League, he had the Northeast Super League. Great people, great players, great guys that ran our teams. They couldn't organize much of anything. They had no business acumen, but they loved the sport. And so you develop certain loyalty to the Greeks. And I played 1 year for the Greek Americans with Jimmy McGill. That became the New York Nationals, probably the best team I ever played on, with Jack Shannon, Michael Collins, Steve Selesky, Franco Panessa, and a whole bunch of guys that had long pro careers. Little did I know, that was a precursor. And then just playing for the fun of it, making less money than you were, not as good a player as you were, but loving it just as much as you did, I think. Yeah. I was playing when I was approached by our mutual friend, Peter Collins, has done a lot for people like you and I and so many other people that no one knows about.
Absolutely.
He recommended me for this position, having worked with the New York Arrows in the front office with these two attorneys that were going to put a soccer team together. And when I accepted it, I actually took a pay cut as well, but it was a full-time job, and I had just gotten married. Probably not the best time to do stuff like this. So I had 2 dogs, bought a house that I couldn't afford, and took a pay cut. But I said, you know what, I'm not going to get another chance to do this. And my gut feeling was 2 things. One is I thought I had a good plan that we executed with the New York Arrows to get out in the community. Tommy Mulroy was my partner there. He taught me a ton.
Right.
Soccer Tom. Icon, should be in the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame. Maybe he will be. But in playing in the Northeast Super League and in the Greek leagues and the Cups, I knew where you were. I knew where Paul Riley was. I knew where all these great players were. And I'm like, the level of play was so high. I said, if we can just get the best local players get them under one roof, get out in the community. I think we can play nationally. Now, that was my goal. That was my objective. I maybe was a little bit feeling pride of being here from this area, but I actually thought we could do it. And I sold it to the two attorneys. I said, we're going to go local. We're going to have a lower payroll than these other teams. But I think in the long run, that I think within 2 years, we can be highly competitive, if not a national champion. And we actually exceeded our thing. And I'll give you one quick story, then I want to turn it over to you because I want to know your perspective. But I remember after we lost our first 2 games in 1994, we went away in North New Jersey, 3-1.
Yeah.
And we came home and sold out. Matt was proud to have sold out the old Mitchell Park, the terrible Mitchell Park, with no locker rooms. We had trailers. We had the mafia controlled the concessions with the Roach Coach trucks. It was terrible. But we sold 4,100 tickets, and the place was packed. And it was freezing, and we lost 1-0. And then in the post-game reception, one of the owners came up to me and goes, Jim, good job with the turnout tonight. And the presentation was outstanding, but I'm a little concerned that the Long Island's not going to support the 0-24 Rough Riders. And I'm like, I wanted to punch him in the face, but I basically said, all right, you know what? I think we'll get a win before it's over. Hang in there, Chuck.
Yeah.
And then you guys rattled off, probably 10, 12, 14 wins in a row. So what's your recollection of that? Did you have any idea what that would become?
Well, what the first thought I thought of was, at the beginning, Alfonso, as you know, was so intense, and he was always like, hey, listen, we got to go undefeated all year. All year we're going to go 24-0. We got to go 24-0, and he kept doing. And then when we lost the first game, we started a chant in the bus, 23-1, 23-1. And that's the way we were. But, I remember all that and the disappointment. Like, it was almost like shock. Like, wait a second. We're working hard. We're doing our thing. We're not. And it just goes to show you, I think now, and you probably agree with me, that was probably one of the best things that ever happened to us, because we did need to be shot down a little bit because, we looked around and we were like, man, we got Iffley, we got this player. Now we got guys like Chris Armerson running, the young kid, he could run, Savarese. Those are the 2 puppies on our team. So we'll take care of those. They just graduated college. So we'll take care of those guys. And, we saw it. And then that first year, remember? And then going to all the way to Carolina and losing. And that was it. That was the thing. And that's when we all really were like, you know what? I think we could all push just a little bit harder. Little did we know how hard that we needed to push, but we needed every moment of it. We needed every moment against Minnesota. So it was a great lesson, and you know what? It's the big lesson, and that lesson has never changed as I move forward in coaching, especially with the youth national teams, the residency program when I was there. I mean, and seeing, because all those players now, they're in their prime, Pulisic's 28 now, 27, and all those guys are, they're the main guys. So you see those guys and the lessons learned, it's the same thing.
So Jimmy,
you really got to come together as a team, and you know how hard and listen, we came together as a team, but how many fist fights did I nearly have in training? Somebody was fighting every single day.
People don't realize the practices were tougher than the games. They were brutal because people wanted to start. And in 1995, the year 2, we had added a lot of talent, and it made things highly competitive. Made things very tough on the coaching staff because it was a tough team to manage because they had strong personalities, a lot of egos. We brought Tony Meola in. That raised the bar a little bit. But I do love how Tony Meola now came off the starting goalkeeper for the World Cup in Italy for the U.S. And then 4 years later, he's with us.
Yeah.
I'll give myself a little bit of credit for that. Then I'll give Tony all the credit for the fact that he was able to check his ego with you guys. He didn't check his ego at the door when he went out in the public, but when it came down to training, you guys brought him right down to earth. He's just a guy from Kearney, a guy from Deer Park, and brought him right down to earth. But Tony bought in, and Tony I knew from, and I see Tony today now and talked to Tony today, and Tony's actually agreed to wear the American Soccer Club New York jersey on his morning footy podcast, Paramount. in Stanford or trying to get it down. He had a bit of a health setback, and he was supposed to wear it that weekend. But I'm glad he's back in action. But Tony, I went back to Tony where I work. I had been a sports apparel rep for companies like Fila and Adidas, and I had a glove
Zara,
line.
Remember you?
Yeah, remember Roach, Zara too. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So Tony had a glove for Roach. It was named after him. It was the Miola. It was my biggest selling glove, and I was a young rep in my early 20s. And we'd done a couple of promotions together on Long Island, and we became friends. And then we went up to New England in the Gold Cup when the U.S. beat England, if you remember that, Jim. I don't know if you remember that, but it was a huge upset. And the company was a lot of English guys. So Tony and I became very friendly after that because the U.S. national team was looking to push him out. So when he was trying out for the Jets, you know the story. He was trying out for the Jets.
Yep.
He didn't make it. But I would meet him up at Hofstra when the Jets trained there. And I said, listen, if this doesn't go well for you, and I hope it does, we've got a pretty serious team here. You know a lot of the guys from your youth and the coaches. All right, fine, Jim. Then one day I went to pick him up for a lunch, and he got cut that day. So we canceled lunch. It didn't go well. And but I stayed in touch. And then ultimately we brought him in, and then you guys wrote history. It was an amazing time. Jim, looking back, playing for Alfonso Mandela, he was a coach that nobody knew except he was out of Hoda. I hired him because this guy wore a suit and tie to LISFL games, Northeast Super League games. I saw how he approached his coaching. I saw Jimmy McGee was the guy that gave me my chance. They ended up being a fantastic combination together. How did you take your experience? Because I want you to talk a little bit more about your playing, not only your playing career, but because you went from the Rough Riders to Major League Soccer, initially to the MetroStars, and then ultimately down to Miami, right? And then had a great run there in Miami. So just give us as concise as you can. What was it like jumping to MLS, into the MetroStars, across the river to Giant Stadium, and then down to Miami?
Yeah, well, I have a very unique, in terms of Rough Rider, relationship with Alfonso. As players, we all do have somewhat of a unique relationship, and then you have within the group as well. But Alfonso is the one who brought me from the Rough Riders to the MetroStars to MLS. He's the one who brought me there. And Jimmy, you could tell. And the one great thing about Alfonso, before I even move on with that, talk about a guy who's willing to do whatever it takes and understand the soccer player's mentality, an Irish one with a bit of a temper, Jim, as you know, and a couple of times and not only me, we had a couple other guys too. And he had taken that and he punished us. He stood up to us. He never backed, but he knew at the end of the day, that's what it would take. And at the end of the day, if you apologize and handled training the next day, it was forgotten. And that's a rarity. So, and he's the guy let's face it, Jimmy, I think I brought a lot of more, because when we weren't playing, I stepped up and spoke to Alfonso. So he dealt with a lot with me, and he's the one who brought me to the MLS because he knew and he believed in me, and he really told me, he pushed me to a certain level. And sometimes it went overboard, but he also had an assistant coach, Jimmy McGee, who went overboard too, right? We all went overboard every now and then. But we all understood it. We never took it personal. But Alfonso, when he went to the MetroStars, he had said to me, listen, come and train, come with the team, train, because we always looked to train. Remember me, Gio, Chris Armas? Yep. We all came together at Hoda, every single one of us. And, just whoever wanted to train, we'd all train. And Alfonso was the guy who would train us, in the snow. It didn't matter what it was. So when it came down to it, he became the coach. Now I'm with MetroStars. I have Gio there. We have Tony there. It was familiar, and I could be myself. So I just always look at it as like, listen, if I get the opportunity to play at a higher level, don't forget, the money wasn't the best at the time, and I was working full-time construction at the time. So I didn't want to give up my full-time job, and I was married, and I had a baby on the way when the MetroStars were coming. So I had to make decisions. And sure enough, Alfonso, it worked out that way. And, going down to the MetroStars, Alfonso got fired. And I thought to myself, you know what, as bad as it is, he's the one who told me. I was really, upset about it. And sure enough, he said, listen, you just carry on. You do whoever comes in, you do your job. So I'll be okay, And, he really released us from any kind of issues. And, you don't think that's a big deal. It could be a big deal at times,
And Jim, you had incredible. You played great for the MetroStars, and then you went to Miami, and you probably played some of your best soccer of your life. And I know you had a great coach there. Taking all that experience you had, you ended up finishing up with the Rough Riders and retiring in 95, 96. But you went right. You got into the coaching of the U17 national team. How did having all these different coaches, Ray Hudson, Alfonso Mandela, Jimmy McGeough, and everybody in between, including your dad? How did that affect you when you came to the U17 national team, outside of the obvious, which is clearly you could deal with any kind of player? Nobody was going to intimidate you.
Yeah, and what happened, the amazing thing with all those kids, when you first get down there, you just can't help but say to yourself, okay, he's sort of like that player that I played with. You kind of subconsciously say, oh, he's so similar like him. Okay, he has a personality like him. Okay, he's fiery. He's here. So it worked really well because it was a strict thing. And then playing for the Long Island Rough Riders, we didn't lose many games. So Alfonso's theory was you play, you win, you stay on. And you know how hard it is. And so that's why the training was so brutal, and we had all that. So I believed in that way, and I wanted to bring that to that team because let's face it, Jimmy, I mean, the rules are a little different, the tackling, a lot of those U.S. national team kids at the time, when they'd go back to the development academy teams, the coaches, instead of pushing those kids, they'd give them carte blanche. Like, oh, do what you want. And we wanted them always to be pushed. So I was always pushing, but also keeping them. I was not the serious side. This is probably the first time I've ever said this, but it's sort of like, the intensity of those kids living each and every day, training in the morning, working out before they come to train, then they go to school, but it's all together. But sometimes, and especially when kids are not starting or they're not in a good way, and it's in training, they're hurt or whatever it is mentally. When we're in those meetings, sometimes I'd catch their eye behind that, and I'd just give them the finger, Jim, to crack things. And now they're looking at me like, oh my God, or just looking at them and say, hey, turn around, face it, something to make it break the tension. And that's
the mental side of the whole thing, Jim. And as I said, the generation that you came from, I think because our families were very similar, it was very blue collar. Long Island was a different place. It's still a great place, but most of our families were not wealthy. They had just enough to do anything they needed to do for their kids. They worked their ass off. They were at every game we had, but you had to fend for yourself a little bit, and that's different in a generation today. So, with the American Soccer Club New York that we formed, Jim, and then be able to bring you on, one of the great things about it is trying to build the kind of the back office staff of a club so we can get advice. And now our season's coming to an end now, our inaugural season. And we're going to be leaning on you guys. In fact, we're going to be having an off-site meeting down in Florida when we get together. What's your thoughts on the American Soccer Club New York based on, I know you've come up to a few games, you were there at the tryouts, and you're staying on top of everything. What's your thoughts on, it's a different era here 30 years from now, from when you and I first started working together. What's your thoughts on the club? Yeah,
it's incredible. I mean, the start that you see right now, and you can see, the trainings. Remember, when we first started, we trained everybody. The warm-up. Remember the warm-up we did? Everybody on Long Island started copying us, doing the warm-up. Everybody, travel teams. Mm-hmm. What Alfonso did, right? And now I think all the players with media and everything, they're well aware of how to warm up, how to do things. So you see, players are more athletic, they're more seasoned, and you just see the way it is. The exciting thing for me, Jim, is if you just go by this Gold Cup game that we just had, like Luna, for players that are playing for the American Soccer Club right now.
Love that guy.
Diego Luna, okay, he scored 2 goals, right? He scored 2 goals for that team, and 3 years ago he was playing for El Paso in USL.
Right.
Okay, 3 years ago he was playing there. And I looked at the Guatemalan team, right? And the kid who scored for that, I don't know if you saw that go, and his name is Escobar.
Yeah,
right?
Massachusetts, right?
He's from Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the opportunity, he still be able to play if you put in the time. And it doesn't matter where you are, and you just have to recognize, put in the time, and you know how to do it. Work out, I mean, it's a lot of time. You have to be ready when the opportunity presents itself.
And, Jim, the amazing thing is you can appreciate this, be with the U17s, when we signed the 16-year-old Dylan Lopez from Ronkonkoma, Connecticut High School, Lake Grove, Newfield, and he got into 2 games, Jim, and that's the key. You know, we said we were going to do this, but it's hard.
Right.
I give John Fitzgerald and everybody a lot of credit because they took a chance. Hey, Jim, we can go on for 2 more hours, so you're coming back again. I hope you don't mind. You have to come back again. So this has been great to talk to Jim Rooney, one of the greatest players that have ever come out of Long Island, and one of the great characters that ever come out of Long Island, and became one of the best coaches to come out of Long Island. We're thankful to have him with the American Soccer Club New York. And, Jim, I do look forward to seeing you in person down in Florida in probably a month. Hopefully we go far in the playoffs, and it's going to be somewhere in late August. But anyway, Jim Rooney, thank you for coming on the American Soccer Club Zone today. Can't thank you enough.
Thanks a lot, Jim. Look forward to seeing you soon, pal.
All the best, Jimmy. Thank you. You're coming back. Hey, I'd like to thank K-Joy, 98.3, Sunday morning, 7 a.m. Well, every Sunday morning, you're going to get a lot of soccer with the American Soccer Club. Thank our sponsors, Lifevac, Orland & Cohen, A-Turf, Macron, Todd Shapiro Associates. And I'd like to thank the American Soccer Club sporting director and the great Jim Rooney, who we just spoke with. We'll be back. Please check us out on ASCNewYork.com, on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on X. We've got a great presence there. And a big story coming up with CBS Sports where Dylan Lopez will be featured in an article that will be seen nationwide. And that interview is coming up. We'll share the information to access that interview in the days to come. So for everyone here at K-Joy and the American Soccer Club Zone, this is Jim Kilmeade. It's been a pleasure to be your host today.